Arkansas, home of Spring River. This is Ridge Runner Reports, a podcast that will help clear the white noise in medicine and politics and help you to find the forest from the trees. Direct from Ridge Runner Studios, here is your host, Big Dave Ezel.
Good evening, everybody. This is Nursing Underground. This is your host, Big Dave. Tonight we're going to talk about a few things that's interesting and a few things that's not, and a bunch that is actually scary. But first, we're going to get a word from our sponsor. It's Rocking Magnolia Customs. The Rocking has no G. The Customs is with a K. And as always, it's your design, your order.
Do you have a friend or family member you're having trouble buying a gift for? You just can't find the right gift for the person who has everything? Then go to Rockin' Magnolia Customs, a place where you can pick out and design the perfect gift for that special someone. That's rockinmagnoliacustoms.com or find them on Facebook at Rockin' Magnolia Customs.
Rockin' Magnolia Customs, folks. Go give Amy a check out. Look at her page. You can specialty order any mug you want, pen you want. She's awesome. And she's also a nurse. So go give her a chat and she will get you filled up. In the last episode I talked about, the last episode ain't here anymore. Anyway, the last episode I talked about the government, how they've tried to take over healthcare. What they're doing, how they're infiltrating the system. It's become a system of a way for the federal government to wash money. They actually care nothing about your health. They care nothing about if you survive, if you do or don't. We are now in such a shortage in the acute care side. And if anybody knows anything about how healthcare works, the acute care side leads always to the long-term care side, especially in the elderly. We know that the reimbursement rates for rehabilitation for the elderly are anywhere from $670 to about $780 a day. The average cost of a nursing home in this country runs anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 a month. So you're looking anywhere at $70,000 to $80,000 a year. The problem is, because of the shortage, because the buildings are closing, because the external pressures of what we've just gone through, the regulations, the mandates, the BS coming out of D.C., they have put such a strain. People, if you get on here and you say, oh, well, the hospitals aren't full. Yes, they are. The problem is you've got a 700-bed hospital, but you only got enough nurses to run 200 beds at 200 patients. The hospital's full. Doesn't matter about how many more beds you got if there ain't nobody to take care of the people that's laying in the beds. Right now, what we've got is our population is aging at a faster rate than ever. And science has had some modern advances and people are living a lot longer. But every day from now until the end of 2030, 10,000 baby boomers are going to start turning 65. And 7 out of 10 of those people are going to require long-term care in their lifetime at some point. The occupancy continues to rise, but the rates are below the pre-pandemic level, which means that, yes, they are, which means nobody is surviving long enough to get to the nursing home and or they're taking them home because a lot of people can't afford the extra that comes out of it. A lot of people have heard that the nursing home industry in of itself is getting ready to start suing family members and friends that signed them in to the system. So they're taking them to court to get what little bit of money they can out of anybody. 9 times out of 10, they're going to get it thrown out because a friend can't be responsible for somebody else's if they're not down as a guarantor. They just helped sign them in because maybe they didn't have any family, or maybe their family was out of town and they went and helped them sign into the nursing home. In turn, the nursing home sues the friend. It's BS, but that's where we're at now, all in the effort to make more money and increase their bottom line. Skilled nursing, long-term acute care, rehabilitation nursing. When I say rose 48 basis points, that means that approximately 78% of all the people that's now in long-term care, LTACs, and rehabilitation centers are 78%. That means that the capacity of the nursing home is 100%. Here's the problem. At the first of this year, it was put out by the AHCA that they are going to be closing approximately 440 nursing homes. That's a grand total of 8,000 beds nationwide. That doesn't mean much to you, but let me ask you, where are they going to go? At the height of the pandemic, which would have been April 2020 in the healthcare field, we were running about 580 points above, and that was only at 73%. You can go online. You can look at NICMAP. NICMAP is an interactive map where you can find your state. You can find out how much it costs to care for your loved one in a nursing home, how much it costs to care for them in a hospital, what the average run is, and how much it costs for a month per nursing home bed. That's just the bed cost, room and board. That's not anything to do with the therapy. That's got nothing to do with PTOT or ST, nothing to do with respiratory therapy. That's just the basic rate you're running is anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 a month. Now, with the cost of, when you started pre-pandemic, nursing run about 3.5 to 4 million nurses in the country to take care of 337 million people. During the pandemic, we lost about 1.5 million of those. Schools can't put them out fast enough. They never will at this point ever be able to put them out fast enough to replace the ones. You've got nurses like me that are fixing to start looking into retiring. I mean, I've already retired twice. I just couldn't stay that way. And you've got companies like Life Care Center, and you've got companies like Gravity Healthcare that are trying everything they can to get the reimbursements up. I said a while back that it's funny that they sent $1.7 billion to the Ukraine to cover their healthcare costs. I'm on my first TikTok account. I'll bring TikTok back up. I made a whole video about how in the hell they sent $1.7 billion to take care of some people we don't know and taking it away from the people here. 2 days later, the government said, oh, well, we're going to put $1.7 billion in the long-term care industry. So they had to spend another $1.7 billion to put in the long-term care industry, and they still left us $22.5 billion short to cover the cost for the rest of the year. That means the downfall is falling on the taxpayers to help cover these, because if a nursing home actually does close, and it closes under abuse, or it closes under where the federal government goes in and takes over the building, it costs the taxpayers money. It does not cost the company money, because once they take over, the company is no longer responsible and they don't have to pay them. It gets to be a sticky slope when they start doing this. But what's happening is the long-term care owners, these conglomerate owners, and all of that are sticking their head in the damn sand. They think it's all going to blow over, and it's not going to blow over. They fundamentally changed healthcare on March the 9th, 2020. They single-handedly changed the country's foreshape forever. And they didn't think it was going to filter into all of these other departments, or did they? Did they? What I keep hearing about, and we're going to cross into a little politics and bring it into healthcare because it's all the same thing. When you break down the gross domestic product in this country, and you break it down into just the 5 basic common things that you have, you've got, you require these things to actually exist. And I'm not talking you, and money won't be one of them. You have to have shelter. You have to have food. So that's shelter, housing, the housing market. That's 20%. Food, going to the grocery store, buying groceries, making sure people have enough to eat. That's 20% of the gross domestic product. Natural resources to create gas, natural resources to create, maybe some reasonable drinking water. That would be 20%. So that's 60% of the gross domestic product. And then you've got all of the distribution that goes on to get all of these other three things out into the public. So that's 80%. To keep everything rolling, you have to have health care. So that would be the other 20%. They can't completely take over health care yet because there's too much of a human factor. In other words, your last line of defense for your health care are the nurses. Us standing up, us fighting everybody, us telling them, go to hell, they don't need to get these shots. I lost a job. I had a friend that lost a job. I got threatened to get my nursing license taken if I didn't give this injections. And they fired me. But the best thing I ever did, because I went and caught me some government retirement for about 3 weeks. Because I had a job that just didn't start for 3 weeks before I even got to my car that day. So if you don't think they're trying to take over healthcare, look at what I just said about the 5 things. You basically breaks down the gross domestic product of this country. Do they control housing? I think they have. They've run the interest rates up at 0.75% basis points every 3 months. You're talking about 12 to 14% interest rate on home loans. You've increased mortgage rates about $200 and $300 in the last 6 months. People can't afford that. The ones that were getting by that could afford the rate they were given a year and a half to 2 years ago can now afford a payment. There's approximately 3 to 5 million people that's going to be homeless before the end of next month. So yeah, they've taken over the housing industry. They've taken over shelter. They pay the farmers subsidies to not grow stuff, not grow wheat, not grow corn, not grow rye, not grow the stuff we have to have our bread. Let's grow the stuff that we got to have our clothes, that we got to have our towels and our soaps and all of this stuff that they use their stuff for. We don't have them. They pay them not to grow them. Around here, I live close to the Delta in lower Mississippi Valley. I have seen them cutting down wheat. I have seen them uprooting rice fields. In case y'all are not aware, Mahatma Distribution Center is in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and they're laying people off. If you weren't aware, the maker of Hot Pockets is in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and it caught on fire. So we hadn't even got into all of that part of it. You think about how many places that you've heard of that's been caught on fire this year. What are we doing? Do you think they've taken over food? I think they got the food covered. As far as having natural resources, he can cut the switch off on the pipe anytime he gets ready to. We see what's happening now. Here's my question, if anybody can answer it, is if the byproduct of making gasoline for a regular gasoline-driven car, the byproduct is diesel fuel, where's all the excess diesel fuel going? If we're going to run out, where is it at? Because we're still driving in our cars and we're selling it at a record rate, even at $3.50, $4, or $5 a gallon. So where's all the diesel fuel? You got to still make it. We don't get crude oil separated. We buy the solid crude. You've got that covered. You've got your water. Everybody knows about the water. Everybody's seen what's gone on, what happened during Ian. Everybody saw what happened in Jackson, Mississippi. Everybody see what happened in Flint, Michigan. We had polio in the water in New York. They've got that covered. That leaves health care. It's kind of a scary thought knowing that there's 440 more facilities closing before December 31st. All at the government's expense. the nurses have been saying it ain't going to take much to keep us, but it's going to cut into your bottom line. Well, they don't care. They don't have a damn clue. If you're having to need health care, you don't have a clue what's going on behind the scenes at all. Wouldn't it be scary to know that you can go in, you could be having a heart attack, and you might sit in a trauma room, may not get the care you need, or you may have a nurse that doesn't know what she's looking at or he's looking at, and they miss a key symptom of having a heart attack, and 5 minutes later you just gone. And it's not those nurses' fault. It's our fault. It's our fault. Nurses have to take some responsibility because we've just kind of let it run status quo. Just don't mess with our crap and we won't mess with yours. Is how we've done it for years. There's been nurses that if you let them do this, they're going to keep doing this. Well, here we are. We're getting, like they say, Farrakhan said, our chicken's coming home to roost on us. And we know it and we're suffering, but there's still those of us out there that don't care about that and still going to keep fighting. The government has found a way to effectively collapse the entire healthcare system by the actions that they've done 113 years ago. I've got news for everybody. Everybody talks about, oh, the Spanish flu, the Spanish flu, the Spanish flu. If you'll explain to me, if you look at this, one we just got over, people are still getting sick and dying from it. Nobody said it's not true, that it exists. Somebody created it and it exists. Now, to do a little wokeness here, whether it was created naturally in nature or not, it wasn't. But in case it was, I've got you covered, so get over it. Let's say that we still got people. Why in 1918 they stopped an entire world war over this quote-unquote Spanish flu? They had it so bad they were having to mask their pets. 1.8 million people died. There's no question about that. The world wasn't that populated then. But you know what happened about 15 years just before that? Andrew Carnegie, James D. Rockefeller, and J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan financed a report called the Lexner Report. In that, they outlawed, got rid, and closed all the quote-unquote medical schools of the holistic nature, the medical schools of the naturalist, homeopathic medicines. You had all kind of chiropractic. You had all kind of physicians that people could just choose and go. Some people went to 2, some people went to 3. And they outlawed it. They outlawed it so to the fact that the only treatment for cancer, and to this day, 113, 14 years later, is surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy. Any change of modulation and the physician can go to jail. Even today. If you choose to do it, the doctor didn't suggest it to you, but if you choose to go to a nutritionist and you choose to go to a naturalist or a homeopathist, that's your choice. They can't interfere with that. But if the people that you go to that are the alternative medicine people put anywhere of cancer in your chart, they're going to jail. I kind of think they've got that part held over. You've caused a shortage. And I'll tell y'all exactly what y'all fixing to start seeing if you hadn't already started seeing it in your area, because I don't know where you're from or how it is there unless you send me a place and I can directly investigate it. You've got hospitals. Let's say we got one with 500 beds in it, but we only got enough staff to run 300 beds, and that's a lot right now. So you got 300 beds. Out of that 300 beds in the hospital, y'all heard me say that 78%, right? So what we've got now is we've got people younger than 55 years old that are having CVAs. That's cerebrovascular accidents, a big word for stroke. We have young people less than 50 years old throwing PEs and clots to the brain. PE is a pulmonary embolus, which is caused from a blood clot in some part of the body that broke loose and got up to the brain or got up into the vessels in your neck and blocked the blood flow. Or really what they've had is hemorrhagic strokes, which means actually bleeding in the brain. But some they survive, then they've still got to have care. And the only real care that's left open available to them is long-term care, long-term acute care, nursing homes, however you want to look at them, whatever title you're used to. Where are they going? Who's going to take care of them? Because if you only got enough nurses in the hospital to take care of 300 patients out of 500 beds, do you think in long-term care or long-term acute care you have enough nurses to take care of 120 beds? Do you have enough CNAs to go make sure your mama or grandmama is turned and changed and fed and made sure they got up? What if they got dementia going on? You just can't take care of them at home. Do you have enough staff to do what they need to do? Will there ever be enough staff anymore? You've got another government entity controlling the nurses called the boards of nursing. If you sneeze or fart wrong, they're going to take your license now. So that removes nurses too. So we're dealing with that. I mean, they've kind of slacked up on that because they were running out of people that were working, which is fine. But they still think they continue running control everything. It's not. They don't. They're just causing it for the general person out there. So if you don't have enough help in the hospitals and you don't have enough help in the nursing homes, what happens to the system? Where's the foundation left? It's only the nurses that's left working. And now there's a big push because everybody in this country thinks nurses were compliant with this mandate stuff when that's the furthest thing from the truth. We have a way of talking and doing things that's maybe not always the best way to do things, but sometimes it really, really is. We can talk sideways to you and get the information to you without saying the words. They did teach all of us old school nurses how to do that. We know how to get answers from you without you knowing that that's what we're doing. It's called in talk, and we are the masters of that art. Here's the problem. Art, nursing are hand in hand. I nurse one my way, the way that works for me. Another nurse that may have been working long as I have, 20 or 30 years, let's say, they've got their way to do it. The art of nursing is passing that information on. School's the same. The body doesn't change. You eat and poop. The body don't change. Stuff's going to happen. It's going to break. It's just like a car engine. And we know enough. Some of us know more than we should, but we had to do that over a time frame because we don't want the doctor killing you. So we do that part, and now everybody's attacking nurses because you were complacent. Oh, if you did anything, you were complacent, and you deserve what's coming to you. Well, you know, what if we said the same thing? What if we said, oh, well, you're jumping on us for being complacent, so I just won't work? You know, if only 280,000 nurses said that tomorrow and walked off the job, the entire system of healthcare in this country would absolutely collapse. And then you would have, in the words of Ronald Reagan, you would start hearing the most dangerous words in our language. I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. And if there's any indication of what they've done over the last 2 years, those are not the words you want to hear coming at you. Maybe it's time in America that we start practicing a little bit of forgiveness. Maybe it's time, instead of tearing each other's throat trying to find someone to blame and having all of these woke SOBs come at us and tell us how we should be thinking and what we should be doing and what your pronouns should be and whether or not you can define a woman or whether or not you can define a man or worrying about. Get the woke out of healthcare too, because you've infiltrated that too, and that's not helping either. Because nurses don't get woke. Nurses have no filters. They're going to tell you just how they think about it. People don't like it. I don't sugarcoat crap when I'm working. I tell them just how it's going to be. I tell them what they're looking at, looking forward to. I don't let them get the doctor tells them all the stuff, and then they ask a question. A nurse's job is to teach what's coming, and I do. People don't like me for that, but most of the people love me just because of that. So if you don't think that nurses are holding you with just a few fingertips on the cliff, you best think again. Because it's coming. It's not going to be nice. And if it does collapse, who you going to blame? Will it be the nurse's fault or will it be the government's fault? Because so far it's the government. All of this, every minute of this is the government's fault all the way to... Feel better? It's the government's fault from 113 years ago. Listen to 3 monopolists. They'd already taken over U.S. Steel, the banking industry, and the oil industry. Now, who's taken over there after they've all passed away and gone on? Who you think was there to reimburse all of those families? Because they've still monopolized. John D. Rockefeller outlawed cancer treatments and then created the American Cancer Society. Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller bought a drug company in Germany. That same drug company is the one that made Nuclant. That's the stuff they used to gas the Jews in the gas chambers. It's gone through 6 or 7 changes over the last 115 years. And they've broken into finally 5 companies. Agra, and if you're in the healthcare industry, Agra is a company that lets us be able to read radiology reports, x-ray reports, x-rays themselves. Agra is the company that helps us read CTs and MRIs. So that's one company. Smith, Kline, and Beecham is one. It's based in America. Bayer, the makers of Roundup and aspirin, they're in America. They're in Germany too. Would you like to take a stab at the other 2? One starts with a P and one starts with an M. And yet they act like they're separate, but they're not. The conglomerate still works. It's still there. And they've got us by the balls. They know they got us by the balls. And they've done so good at taking over the Department of Education and hiding all of this from the public. We're going to fall. And if we fall, hunger ain't going to be your problem. Finding somebody to be able to stop the infection that you got because you nicked your leg because you're working in your yard. There'd be nobody to give you no antibiotics to stop it. And that's where we're at. Something to think about. This is David. Good night. God bless.
have been listening to the Healthcare Underground, a podcast dedicated to informing you of the white noise in politics and healthcare and helping you to redefine the trees in the forest. Join Big Dave again next week in the Healthcare Underground from Ridge Runner Studios.